What up, world? Welcome to Infantry Mindset, where we don't make excuses, we just do it. Let's get into it.
With Elon Musk tonight on X, we're learning that Musk's role in the 2024 election has been even bigger than he initially wanted the public to realize. Now, that is according to the Wall Street Journal, which has new reporting on his hands-on push to turn out 800,000 voters for Trump. Musk.
Thank you very much.
Donald Trump seemingly amped up tonight for his live conversation on X with Elon Musk. The former president posting several times on X today, the first time he's posted on the platform in nearly a year. Among his posts, a 2.5-minute video highlighting coverage of the FBI's search of his Mar-a-Lago home in 2022.
The FBI has executed an unprecedented search warrant at President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate.
I never thought anything like this could happen in America.
Trump also reposted a message from his campaign's official X account, promoting the conversation with Musk. Quote, "It will be the interview of the century."
For Trump. About an hour and a half from now, billionaire Elon Musk will host Donald Trump on his social media platform X, the app once known as Twitter, and once a favorite outlet for Trump before he was banned in the aftermath of the January 6th insurrection. CNN's Brian Todd has more for us. Brian, what can we expect from this conversation?
But Wolf, media analysts expect this to be a friendly and freewheeling conversation where Elon Musk is likely to let Donald Trump go in whatever direction he wants. It comes as both men are trying to shape new narratives about themselves. It was just a couple of years ago that Trump and Musk were on the outs. Musk tweeting, quote, "It's time for Trump to hang up his hat and sail into the sunset." Trump saying this about Musk.
Elon is not going to buy Twitter. Nah, he's got himself a mess. You know, he said the other day, "Oh, I've never voted for a Republican." I said, "I didn't know that. He told me he voted for me." So he's another artist, but he's not going to be buying it.
But just after the assassination attempt against Trump, Musk endorsed the former president, and Trump now has a different tune.
I respect Elon a lot. He respects me.
And Musk,
Trump was famously kicked off of X, then it was called Twitter, after his tweets during the January 6th Capitol attack. What's been fascinating today is he's back. For the first time, I think, in over a year, posting a video or two. We'll show you some of it right now. I think this dynamic here, Trump has his own social media company. It's Truth Social. He benefits from it financially as well. Is the relationship here, is that part of why he's back on X?
Actually, Allison and Scott Jennings are back with us for some more analysis. Scott, when Trump has been promoting a right-wing conspiracy theory about Harris's crowds, is it a good idea for him to do an interview with someone known to traffic in misinformation?
Well, he's got to reach as many people as he can. And at this point of the campaign, you can't leave any stone unturned. So I am, before this thing happens, cautiously going to say this is a good idea, but I'll reserve judgment on the final analysis until I hear the content tonight. But Donald Trump obviously built a name for himself in politics on this platform. He's returning to the platform, and he's currying favor with someone with a ton of money. Elon Musk could, financially change this campaign in a major way if he decided to do it. And maybe he already is to some degree. So I think he's got to reach folks, Wolf, and ultimately he's got to prosecute the case that will work with voters. And he's going to reach more people tonight on Twitter than he would do at any individual rally out there.
This was kind of a big moment, not just for Donald Trump, but also for Elon Musk.
For sure.
On Twitter, as I still call it.
This is why I love good old-fashioned television. It just works, everything actually works. This actually does show that streaming can struggle, especially when someone like Musk fired most of the technical staffers at the company formerly known as Twitter. He kind of had this coming. Musk says he had been testing the servers ahead of time, trying to make sure this would work. We'll find out later what actually went wrong here. But it is embarrassing for Trump because every day he's been attempting a reset lately to try to take on Harris.
Yeah, and I mean, this is truly what he made fun of Ron DeSantis for, which, as you would know well, I mean, it's kind of perfectly timed that you're here. But I was looking at what Trump said when this happened to Ron DeSantis. He said, wow, the DeSantis Twitter launch is a disaster. His whole campaign will be a disaster. I mean, can you hear the laughs from the governor's mansion in Florida tonight?
I don't remember any of that, Caitlin. Look, obviously, I'm sure everybody involved wished it went better tonight. But I think this is a symptom of a larger issue right now, which is, for the first time in his adult political career, Donald Trump's struggling to get earned media attention. And we have not seen that. There have been days, but since 2015, they've been days and hours, not weeks on end. And so I think that's what you're seeing him reach out, doing press conferences, going to, journalist panels, and now doing events like this, because he is looking for ways to reach people and frankly have us here tonight talking, even if it's a bad Twitter event or a delayed one. It's better than a night of Kamala Harris is on the rise and succeeding. Well, that's what he has to do.
Elon Musk seems to have just begun to start his live stream with the former president. There's been a delay, and Musk just took to his own network with an explanation. Quoting from his post, there appears to be a massive DDoS attack on X, working on shutting it down. DDoS stands for Distributed Denial of Service. He went on to say, worst case, we will proceed with a smaller number of live listeners and post the conversation later.
Now, Elon Musk billed it as the interview of the century. Donald Trump broke his long silence on X to promote it, but their conversation on Musk's platform was plagued with technical problems that are overshadowing the interview itself, at least parts of it. At the scheduled start time, many people could not connect to the feed where it was happening. Musk claims a denial of service attack, as it's known, overwhelmed the company's servers, but it's unclear if that was the issue or if too many people were trying to get into the room. The interview eventually got underway, nearly 45 minutes behind schedule, and from there, Trump launched into his normal talking points and grievances and attacks on Kamala Harris.
They're doing it right now while this third-rate phony candidate. Don't forget, I beat Biden. He failed in the debate miserably. We cannot have a Democrat. We cannot have her. She's incompetent. She's as bad as Biden. No tax on tips. And all of a sudden she's making a speech and there will be no tax on tips. I said that months ago. All of a sudden for politics, she says, she comes out with what I said, which I think is terrible. And I think it's also hitting them very hard. These people are fake. Kamala wouldn't have this conversation. She can't because she's not smart. She's not a smart person, by the way.
The glitchy conversation was not just a misfire for Trump. He was hoping to use the opportunity to blunt Kamala Harris's momentum. It's also a big embarrassment for Elon Musk because this has happened before during the botched launch of Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign. It's unclear if this will impact Trump and Musk's relationship, which has gotten increasingly closer over the past few months since Musk took over what used to be known as Twitter. The billionaire has used the platform as his personal megaphone, expressing increasingly far-right views aligned with Trump. You remember Musk endorsed Donald Trump after the assassination attempt against him, and there's new reporting tonight that shows just how far Musk has ventured into politics. The Wall Street Journal says his super PAC wants to turn out 800,000 voters for Trump in battleground states. We will dig into that later on tonight. And if you want just a sense of just how much their bromance has grown, all you have to do is track Trump's evolving comments on electric cars.
The cars go for like two hours. What are you going to do? Everyone's going to be sitting on the highway. We're all going to be looking for a little plug-in. Why is it that these big, powerful car companies with guys that are making $35 million a year immediately quit? They say, you want electric vehicles, we'll give it to you, when the damn things don't go far enough and they're too expensive. I'm for electric cars. I have to be, because Elon endorsed me very strongly, Elon. So I have no choice. You have and you do make a great product, I have to say. I have to be honest with you. That doesn't mean everybody should have an electric car, but these are minor details. But your product is incredible.
Donald Trump returned to Twitter last night. It's now called X, for a long conversation with Elon Musk that was hampered by technical issues. Rachel Scott is tracking the race. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, George, good morning to you. This all got off to a very rocky start. That conversation was delayed by more than 40 minutes because of those tech issues. Elon Musk said he wanted to have this conversation so that the former president could appeal to independent voters, but Trump fell into a very familiar pattern of controversial statements, insults, and attacks.
Overnight, Donald Trump's botch returned to the platform that once banished him for posting false claims about the election. The company saying at the time the account was permanently suspended due to the risk of further incitement of violence. It was reinstated by Elon Musk in November of 2022 when Musk bought the company. Trump returning to the conversation Monday for a conversation with Musk. Technical issues delaying it from the start for more than 40 minutes. Musk blaming a so-called denial of service attack, a kind of cyber attack that floods a server with traffic to force it offline, saying the massive attack illustrates there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say, though he provided no evidence of such a cyber attack.
All right, hello everyone. My apologies for the late start.
Users getting messages like this saying details not available. Those who were able to get into the live stream welcomed by hold music, then silence. X saying more than 1 million people eventually signed on.
I'm looking at the numbers. You got a lot of people listening.
Musk said he wanted Trump to reach open-minded independent voters, kicking off the conversation by asking Trump about the attempt on his life.
What was it like for you?
Not pleasant. I have to be honest. I said there was blood. I had more blood. I didn't know I had that much blood.
Over 2 hours, the former president drifted into bringing up false claims, insults, and controversial statements. Trump praising his relationships with authoritarian leaders, saying he got along well with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin.
And I got along with Kim Jong-un. We had dinner. We had everything. And he really liked me, and I got along with him.
Trump also describing a conversation he had with Putin about invading Ukraine, claiming he told him not to invade. The former president laying out what he would do if reelected, insisting one of his first acts would be shutting down the Department of Education.
This is where I need an Elon Musk. I need somebody that has a lot of strength and courage and smarts. I want to close up Department of Education, move education back to the states, where states like Iowa, where states like Idaho, not every state will do great.
The Harris campaign highlighting that clip on social media and responding to the interview saying Trump's entire campaign is in service of people like Elon Musk and himself, self-obsessed rich guys who will sell out the middle class and who cannot run a live stream in the year of 2024. The Harris campaign also accusing Trump of slurring his words. The former president brushing off dire warnings about the impact of climate change, saying rising sea levels will lead to, quote, more oceanfront property. And he promised the largest deportation in history, attacking Vice President Kamala Harris on the administration's handling of the border, calling migrants non-productive people. Trump casting Harris as liberal and attacking Jewish people who support her, repeating claims that have been widely called anti-Semitic.
And I say, if you're a Jewish person or if you believe in Israel, if you're a person that, is very pro-Israel, if you vote for her, it's worse than Biden. And Biden was bad. But if you vote for her, you ought to have your head examined.
Also at one point saying the new Time magazine cover of Harris looks like his wife.
I saw a picture of her on Time magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing. And actually, she looked very much like our great first lady, Melania. She didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman. So we'll leave it at that, right?
And in a sign of just how much the former president has struggled to pivot to a new rival, Trump also spent time attacking President Biden, even though he's no longer in the race.
Don't forget, I beat Biden. He failed in the debate miserably.
I want him to take on the Harris-Walz ticket.
Former President Donald Trump is now using one of his favorite tools, social media, to pull the political spotlight back his way. And he kicked off the effort with an online chat with billionaire Elon Musk.
I think you should support Donald Trump for president.
Well, I want to thank you.
The 2-hour dialogue with Musk was delayed by technical difficulties.
You've done an amazing job. You have definitely got a fertile mind.
Trump's allies say he recognizes the impact of being on X, especially as he looks to energize his core supporters who have been following his social postings since he rose to the presidency in 2016. But there is no guarantee an X exchange will provide a political boost. Sources close to the Trump campaign tell CBS News that privately, some aides and donors are increasingly on edge about Trump's ability to adapt to the new dynamics since President Biden exited the race.
Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him. Both sides. Yeah. That was a hard thing to do. Unification.
And some Trump associates are voicing frustration that more needs to be done to better define Vice President Kamala Harris as a liberal. And sources say some confidants have urged him to concentrate on policy attacks, not personal ones. Whether that happens remains to be seen as Trump is ramping up his campaign schedule, with a rally Wednesday in Asheville, North Carolina, slated to focus on the economy, before rallying supporters on Saturday in northeastern Pennsylvania, 2 days before the Democratic National Convention. Harris, meanwhile, is scheduled to unveil her economic agenda this Friday in North Carolina. And today, her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, defended his military record.
I'm going to say it again as clearly as I can. I am damn proud of my service to this country.
The Harris campaign wasted no time firing back at Trump after his interview with Musk. In response to the live stream on X, the Harris campaign released a statement saying, quote, Trump's entire campaign is in service of people like Elon Musk and himself, self-obsessed rich guys who will sell out the middle class and who cannot run a live stream in the year 2024. Joining me now for the latest on the Harris campaign is CBS News campaign reporter Aaron Navarro. So, Aaron, a little bit of sass there in that statement. Also want to ask you about reporting and into alleged hacking with the campaigns. What are you learning? What can you tell us?
Sources tell CBS News that there is a federal investigation into suspected Iran phishing attempts, hacking attempts for both advisors for the Trump and the Biden-Harris campaign. The Harris campaign said yesterday that they, quote, will vigilantly monitor and protect against cyber threats, and they are not aware of any security breaches of their systems. Reporting has shown that this attempt happened earlier in the summer before President Biden decided to withdraw his candidacy, but we'll be watching it and seeing how the story develops in the next coming weeks.
Elon Musk pitched himself to Donald Trump as a guy who could help the government cut costs if Trump wins a second term.
I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. And I'd be happy to help out on such a commission.
And the former president was happy to entertain the idea.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do.
The pair didn't get specific on what cuts would be made, only that there needed to be some under their proposed Government Efficiency Commission. The national debt eclipsed $35 trillion for the first time ever in late July. The government spends the most on Social Security at more than $1.2 trillion. Next up isn't a service at all. It's actually $763 billion in interest payments, outpacing health care, Medicare, and defense spending.
We can't ignore the debt anymore. I don't worry so much about trillions. Those are scary numbers. What I worry about is that our debt is approaching a record share of the economy.
Finding where to make the cuts will be up to lawmakers as they try to tackle a problem that's not going to magically go away. The Congressional Budget Office projects debt will balloon to more than $56 trillion in the next 10 years.
You can't really afford to pick and choose. The truth is, all parts of the budget need to be on the table. And the tax code does.
Trump's vague comments were the closest thing to a debt plan either party has released so far. There was nothing in the Republican Party's platform put out ahead of their convention last month, and Vice President Kamala Harris has yet to reveal her economic plan. In Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
My apologies for the late start. We unfortunately had a massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers.
Elon Musk's interview with former President Donald Trump on X Monday night did not go according to plan. It was delayed 40 minutes after Musk says cyber hackers flooded their servers.
There's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say.
Musk did not provide details on the source of the alleged attack, but it comes just days after Trump's campaign announced it was targeted by a cyber attack, where internal documents, including vetting materials on J.D. Vance, were stolen and sent to reporters. Trump's team blamed Iran, and while Iran's leadership at the UN denied involvement, the State Department is watching closely.
These latest attempts to interfere in U.S. elections are nothing new for the Iranian regime.
The Washington Post reports staffers on the Harris campaign were also targeted with phishing emails. But Harris's team says it's unaware of any successful security breaches.
No matter what, if you're on the left, if you're on the right, you can bet that these kinds of attacks are going to be coming at American politics from now until the November election.
Politico, the Washington Post, and the New York Times all reported receiving the stolen Trump campaign files. But Trump's team strongly discouraged any outlet from reprinting the documents, saying they would be doing the bidding of America's enemies. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox 32 Chicago.
Well, former President Donald Trump is set to return to the campaign trail this week. But first, he sat down for an interview with ex-CEO Elon Musk. The Harris campaign is responding as vice presidential nominee Tim Walz campaigns solo for the first time today. Christiane Cordero has our coverage tonight.
Former President Donald Trump's return to the platform that banned him after January 6th got off to a rough start. It was a conversation with Elon Musk, who reinstated Trump's X account when he bought the company in 2022. Technical issues delayed the live stream more than 40 minutes. Eventually, X showed more than 1 million joining in.
All right, hello everyone. My apologies for the late start.
Musk blamed a cyber attack but provided no evidence. The Harris campaign was quick to make fun of the delay, resharing a Trump post on the Kamala HQ Truth Social account that criticized Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign launch event on X that was also delayed by glitches. Trump at the time said DeSantis' Twitter launch is a disaster. His whole campaign will be a disaster. As for Monday's 2-hour-long conversation with Musk, Trump meandered into various topics, bragging about his relationships with authoritarian leaders.
And I got along with Kim Jong-un. We had dinner, we had everything, and he really liked me, and I got along with him.
And insisting he would shut down the Department of Education as one of his first acts as president.
I want to close up Department of Education, move education back to the states.
Trump also repeated false claims and personal insults. The Harris campaign responded to the interview, saying in part, quote, Trump's entire campaign is in service of people like Elon Musk and himself. Self-obsessed rich guys who will sell out the middle class and who cannot run a live stream in the year 2024. Vice President Kamala Harris and Tim Walz spent their first week as running mates on a campaign blitz across several battleground states. Today, Walz campaigned solo for the first time at a union event in Los Angeles.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Jess is on maternity leave. Lauren LaRosa's filling in. Good morning, Lauren.
Good morning.
And let's get in some front page news. Morgan Wood. What up, Morgan?
Good morning, y'all. So were y'all up last night trying to be on X, seeing what's going on with the former president and Elon Musk?
I was.
No.
I
listened to some
of
it this morning.
I was. I fell asleep listening to it, though. It was like 2 hours long.
Yes, so exactly, Lauren. So former President Donald Trump, he made his way back to X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, for his first time back on the platform in over a year since being banned following the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Now, Elon Musk, who now owns the platform, had a conversation with the former president. As you mentioned, Lauren, it lasted over 2 hours, but it was delayed and there was some technical difficulties. Musk described it as the issues as distributed denial of service attack on the platform. Now, during the conversation, the two talked about the attempted assassination on Trump in Pennsylvania, immigration, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and the threat of global warming. Let's hear more from President Trump and Musk's conversation.
We cannot have a Democrat. We cannot have her. She's incompetent. She's as bad as Biden in a different.
Yeah.
Look, she hasn't done an interview since this whole scam started. And say what you want. This was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said we can do it the nice way or we can do it the hard way. What they did with this guy, and I'm no fan of his, and he was a horrible president, the worst president in history. And one of the reasons he was so bad, first of all, the Israeli attack would have never happened. Russia would never have attacked Ukraine, and we'd have no inflation. And we wouldn't have had the Afghanistan mess, if you think of it. And we wouldn't have had Afghanistan. But we think of it, you take a few of those events away and we have a different world.
At one point in the discussion, over 1.3 million people were listening, not the 25 to 30 million that Trump mentioned on the stream, but this does mark the first time that he's back. He talked about a lot. It was kind of a bit of a snooze fest for me, but he definitely covered a lot in regards to that. Meanwhile,
it's so interesting. I didn't think it was a snooze fest at all. Like I listened to I only listened to about 30 minutes of the conversation, and in those 30 minutes, I heard them talk about the border extensively.
Yep.
And I heard them talk about the economy extensively, and that is why Trump resonates with so many people, because he's speaking to the issues, and those are the two major issues. Folks don't care about all that other stuff as long as what they care about is being addressed. People want to know how they're going to have more money in their pocket and how they're going to feel safe.
Well, that's what his base cares about, right?
That's what everybody cares about. When you're having a conversation, you're talking about light bills being lower, and you're talking about
water
groceries being lower, and
jobs.
Border control. That's what everybody cares about. That's not just his base.
You said he wasn't a snooze fest. You only listened for 30 minutes. They were listening for 2 hours.
No, I ain't say the whole. I fell asleep. I fell asleep. I woke up and I was like, "Whoa, it's 3 o'clock in the morning."
And I'll tell you one thing that woke me up, because that's why I said it wasn't a snooze fest at all.
Not so much Trump, because he definitely He talks.
Oh, he talked the whole time.
But exactly.
Yeah.
But Musk didn't ask the question. He seemed more of a fan than somebody.
There was one thing Trump said. It was something to the effect of, it's not global warming that's going to take us out. It's nuclear warming. And then Trump started having a convo about how all these countries have nuclear weapons and the threat of nuclear war is high.
At that, Elon was so confused at that when he was doing that. But
what is there to be confused about?
Because he didn't start off the conversation talking about that. Trump took it there.
Oh yeah, they were talking about global warming.
Yeah. He wasn't confused, like he didn't understand it. It was just like that's not where. But Trump, he was controlling the conversation.
Well, what Trump said, he said global warming isn't going to take us out. Nuclear warming will. The fact that these conversations about nuclear war have been happening so frequently and so casually should scare us all.
Certainly.
Donald Trump and Elon Musk holding a wide-ranging 2-hour talk on X. That's the platform formerly known as Twitter. At times, the two titans were chatting like old friends and touching on everything from the economy, education, AI, and Kamala Harris.
The thing that they really is making them angry is what Kamala and Biden have allowed to happen to the economy. It's a disaster with inflation. She's incompetent and he's incompetent. And frankly, I think that she's more incompetent than he is. And that's saying something because he's not too good. She's a radical left lunatic. And if she's going to be our president, very quickly, you're not going to have a country anymore. And she'll go back to all of the things that she believes in. She believes in defunding the police. She believes in no fracking.
They're rewriting history and making Kamala sound like a moderate when in fact she is far left, like far left.
So the interview was also chock full of some serious Trumpian moments. Watch this.
The stupid threats coming from a stupid face. Illegal immigration saved my life. You're right, but it had to be at that exact angle. I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And I told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way. I saw a picture of her on Time Magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing. And actually, she looked very much like our great First Lady, Melania. As if something happens with this election, which would be a horror show, we'll meet the next time in Venezuela because it'll be a far safer place to meet than our country.
There are some in the media. You can imagine they're not happy that you got to hear those words. Hours before the interview even began, there was one reporter from the Washington Post that asked if the White House was going to intervene to prevent misinformation.
I think that misinformation on Twitter is not just a campaign issue. It's it's an America issue. What role does the White House or the president have in sort of stopping that, or stopping the spread of that, or sort of intervening in?
Charlie, I was just thinking back to our days in the briefing room, and if somebody would have asked that, I know you would have laughed out loud.
They would have been drummed out of there, as they should have been. And I really don't get it, but it does underscore just how far the journalistic standards have fallen over the years, but also how zealously everybody, there's so many people in the left-wing press are working overtime to sort of extend this honeymoon as long as they can. I don't think that they can do it until the election, which is the real problem. Although I do think that she's going to probably get another week of it, of the honeymoon, because of the convention next week in Chicago. But I thought that thing last night was absolutely fascinating. You have two of the most consequential people on the planet today talking about real things. Talking about rockets and tunnels, and of course, Donald Trump used to drive his people crazy when he ran in 2016, talking about how he builds buildings. I build buildings. People who do that are problem solvers. And if you listen to that entire thing last night, they were talking about solving problems. And you're not talking about ideologues or politicians. They're people who want to solve problems. And it's very refreshing. Whether it breaks through and actually changes anybody's mind, I don't know. But I do think it's sort of the right direction if you want to solve the problems that are facing our country.
And we have plenty of them. Can you guys play for us the soundbite from Elon Musk about how he considers himself?
I've not been very political before. They try to paint me as like a far right guy, which is absurd because I'm like making electric vehicles. I supported Obama. I stood in line for 6 hours to shake Obama's hand. Historically, a moderate Democrat, but now I feel like we're really at a critical juncture for the country. So people out there who are in the moderate camp to say, I think you should support Donald Trump for president.
I thought that was an interesting take. What do you think?
Well, piggybacking on Charlie Hurt's point, they weren't talking about amorphous dystopian hypotheticals. They were actually talking about economic development. They were talking about debt, energy, artificial intelligence. And you're watching two people, arguably the two of the most powerful people on the planet, agreeing about the state of the world and also talking about the future, not making up stories of the past like the Fine People hoax, which is what Harris and Liz Warren were pushing last night. When you look at this, think about those televised hearings when our politicians are talking about one issue and they have to be prepped by staffers bearing reams of research laid out perfectly for them, and they still don't know what the hell they're talking about. And yet these two guys, I don't know how deep Trump can go on this stuff, but he can at least talk about artificial intelligence. Kamala Harris is the czar of AI, and the only thing she knows about AI is that she could use some. And then her campaign, which kills me, said that it was two rich guys talking. So I guess like Apollo 11 was a bunch of white guys going on a road trip. It kind of celebrates. It's a defense of lethargy and ignorance. On one hand, you got a man who created an implant to help paralyzed people think. He builds rockets and cars. On the other hand, you got a guy who doesn't even get paid to be president. He could have retired, and he gets shot. But these are two rich guys talking. There's like this weird decline in the appreciation of achievement. These are people that we used to, when I was growing up, you'd put them up on a pedestal and say, I want to be Howard Hughes. Or I want to be Joe DiMaggio. In this case, they don't like aspirational efforts unless the government can take credit for it. They mock private citizens when they do well because, it's just two guys talking and it's like two rich guys talking, and Waltz, Waltz doesn't have anything. He doesn't have a bank account. Isn't that amazing? No, it's not. It's kind of sad. I just want to touch on the 30-minute delay thing and watching people dunk on that. When you're an inventor who aims for big things, every day you have a failure to launch, whether it's a rocket, whether it's a business, whether it's some social media experiment. That is, successful people fail every single day, and they fail big. The only people who don't understand that are actual failures. People who aren't successful don't understand how failure is necessary to succeed. Compare Musk's failure last night to Harris failing spectacularly in the 2019 primary. She failed horribly and still got a VP slot. And then in 2024, they wanted her off the ticket, and she ended up on the ticket. So that doesn't happen in the private sector. You own your failures. In the public sector, they just boost you on up.
I was thinking, when you mentioned the two rich guys having a conversation. What if it had been Donald Trump and Warren Buffett? Would that have been a complaint? Because Warren Buffett is very supportive of Kamala Harris. It's like, if you're rich on one end, then you're good. But if not, if you support Trump, then you're not good.
All right. What do we think? What do we think, guys? What do we think? Put in the comments how you felt about Elon Trump's stream. Trying to be objective about it. It looks like, going around, there's different, depending on what media platform, of course, they're spinning it as either being an extremely bad thing for both parties or a positive thing. I go back, you guys know I'm all about healthy communication. I think that in general, I think it's a good thing that Trump and Elon got together. I think they're very similar in thought to some things, and I think they're very far apart in others. And I think that's a great segue into, what I try to build on this platform. And that's for healthy communication, right? I put my views and opinions out there, but I really want the comment section to be a living document where we're just kind of putting out our thoughts, whether we agree or disagree, and then, allowing each other to grow together. I think that overall, if I had to look at it, I think it was very positive for the country. I think it shows a lot. I do think that it could have been a little bit more. If I'm being objective, Elon could have did a better job of making sure that he was, I guess, the points were linear, because one thing about Trump, he's a leader. He's a leader, and it doesn't matter who you are. He is going to, you know, get across whatever he wants to get across. So it's very hard, I think, to keep him on a linear path and just, you know, speak on subjects as they are discussed. You know, he's going to kind of go off, and he's going to go on his tangents, and he's going to talk about other things, and he's going to bring up a lot of things that we've heard before. And, you know, there's no secret. You know, I'm voting for former President Donald Trump, but, you know, I will say, listening to the interview, there's a lot of talking points that are now becoming a little bit more repetitive. The same criticism I gave to Vice President Kamala Harris. I think the biggest thing with Vice President Kamala Harris is we still haven't really heard her economic policies. And that's what I want to know more about. You know, I want to live in the now so we understand how we're going to make America great again, how we're going to push the country forward. You know, it's really easy to say that you're going to do this and that, but I just want to know how we're going to do it, right? And so that's the biggest thing. That's been my biggest criticism for Vice President Kamala Harris. But to be fair, I think she was kind of thrown into this. You know, I don't think that prior to the presidential debate with our President Biden, our current President Biden, I don't think that she even thought that she was going to have this opportunity so fast. So everything's going quick. So now I feel like there needs to be some movement. Her party, the Democratic Party, excuse me, needs to kind of step up in gear and need to start discussing what they're going to do to fix our economy, what they're going to do to fix the issues we have here internally, and then how we're going to set ourselves up for the future. What really scared me is when I look at the numbers, especially, you know, one of the clips that I put in just talking about, you know, 700 and I think $30 billion our annual budget for debt interest. I mean, it eclipses military spending and, you know, a bunch of other things. And I thought that was pretty scary, because we owe a lot of people and we're paying a lot of interest. You know, at the end of the day, I think this was a step in the right direction. Going back to the interview, I think it was a step in the right direction. I told you guys earlier, you know, I've got a Tesla myself. I never thought about, you know, having an electric vehicle as being a conservative or a liberal thing, because I didn't make it about that. It really was about the finances for me. Driving long distances here in Texas, believe it or not, there are a lot of superchargers in places where I can, you know, fuel up, and how much I was spending in fuel versus, you know, what I'm saving now. It was a really big difference. So financially it made sense for me. But that's not to say that everyone needs an electric vehicle. That's not even to say that there should be some type of agenda to get rid of gas or diesel vehicles, you know, or anything. I think there needs to be a healthy balance, everything. I think that we need more of these conversations. I think that we need to discuss more about what they are talking about internally. And then I think, you know, regardless if you're conservative or liberal, Republican or Democrat, I think that you should have the ability to be an independent thinker. And if you're a Democrat and you realize that, you know, right now our current party is not pushing us in the right direction, it should be okay for you to move over and say, you know what, let's try this. And the same thing if you're a conservative. I told you guys before, I voted for Obama. You know, I'm conservative at heart. I voted for Obama because, you know, not only being our first black male president, but also I felt like he was the glue that could really put both parties together and kind of push the country forward. So, you know, what do I know? I'm an infantry guy, just kind of sharing my thoughts, growing on YouTube. If you have any value, if you found any value, please like, share, and subscribe.
leave me a comment. I love to have healthy communication with you guys, and let me know, what you want me to look into. What videos you think I should watch, what questions you might have, and I'll do the same. Again, Infantry Mindset, where we don't make excuses, we just do it. Until the next episode, God bless. Have a good day.
You will feel fatigue. You will feel fear. You will feel happiness. You will feel regret. You will feel sadness. At the end of the day, you will continue to breathe fire. Gonna go. Okay, with that said, you will take the operational instinct, and here's what I tell you to do, and it's almost one of those impossible tasks, but you gotta fight for it every day. You gotta use that operational instinct, and you gotta know what happens before it happens. You gotta stay methodical on the field. You gotta stay clear-headed on the field. You gotta work any resource as required to move like this, move methodical, and ensure you always have mutual support in position to effect the fight and bring fires as required to fucking kill the enemy. Kill the enemy! Kill the enemy! Kill the enemy! Gonna go!